Good morning, Women of Vision. This is Casey Strohmeyer coming to you live, and I'm happy to be here this morning with Susan Schroder, and I will introduce her in just a minute. I'm going to... Good morning, Women of Vision. This is Casey Strohmeyer coming to you live, and I'm happy to be here
We're having problems with
Susan Schroder.
feedback.
I think I'll wait and see if anybody pops on, so you can let us know what it sounds like to you. It stopped, so yay. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and read the vision for Women of Vision and our mission statement. Together, Women of Vision will promote, support, motivate, and empower each other to achieve our dreams. With a spirit of integrity and excellence, we will motivate and thrive, activating our unique abilities. By empowering each other, we will not only achieve our personal and professional goals, but positively affect our communities economically, ethically, and socially, to then duplicate success in women throughout Reading and beyond. And our mission is Women of Vision is a movement, not a meeting. We are women empowering women locally and globally. We connect female professionals and entrepreneurs to fuel a fundamental paradigm shift from competition to collaboration, solitude to accountability. Collectively, we will encourage powerful women to become change agents in our community and throughout the world. So I always love reading that because it just gives such a perspective on how we can empower women and be stronger. And, you know, there's always...
Support each other.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing to me, is making sure that women support each other, because that's not a standard in the world, it seems like.
Right.
And it's really important if we're going to get anywhere.
I know. There's just been so much about how women aren't important in jobs and careers, and standing up for ourselves and supporting each other is the best thing.
Yeah.
So thank you, Susan, for being here. I'm really excited to have this interview with you. You being a professional photographer as well as I am, and learning about what you do, because you do more than just photography.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to your website. And I'm going to give you a little bit about Susan. So she's been a professional artist for about 35 years, and she enjoys using a variety of mediums, including traditional art, digital art, and photography. Along with taking art and photography at Arizona State University, she studied creative writing, literature, art history, and science. She loves learning new things. Traditional art techniques she favors: watercolors, is that gouache? Gouache. I don't know much about art, sorry. And ink. And she enjoys the incredible opportunities of digital art, which the approach she takes the same way with traditional techniques.
Right. So that basically means that I think, as a digital artist, I do digital paintings. That's what I call them. Some people call them tradigital art as well, which is kind of a neat term. And that is where you literally have a tablet, a drawing tablet, attached to your computer, and it is the same approach as painting or drawing on a canvas or paper or whatever you would like. So I love to do traditional art. I love traditional art. I've been painting in watercolors. Gouache is kind of like a water-soluble, opaque watercolor. So you can't really see through them the way you can regular watercolors. That's what that is. And I've loved to paint, and I have been doing that for even longer. I've been doing that for like 35 years or more, really, since I was a teenager. So, and when I was going to school at Arizona State University, the digital age had not yet started. There was no digital photography back then. And computers were really, when I was in college, were really just starting to become a thing that people had. So I've been doing those traditional techniques. But when the digital age kind of came into being, and more people had computers and so on, I totally jumped on it because I love to learn new stuff. And I think if I was going to give a message out there to the world, I would say, don't be afraid to learn new stuff. Even as you grow older, I am still learning new things every day. And I find that it is a way of keeping yourself from getting, too complacent in what you do. So, it's all about exercising the brain and keeping yourself working well. So I like to learn new stuff, and I still work in traditional mediums. I still do traditional paintings. I also do digital paintings, and when I was in Arizona State University, I learned photography. I took photography classes. I learned how to develop film, use a manual camera, develop the film, and then make prints with all those awful chemicals. But that was a lot of fun. But when digital photography came around, I jumped on that, and I couldn't wait to learn that too. And so I don't really do film photography anymore because it's quite hard to do nowadays. But I still love to do digital photography as well. So
you've pretty much always done art and photography, but you studied literature and science.
I did. I was actually a science major, a biology major actually in college. I love science, and that was actually what I studied the most. I did take art classes as well, but by the time I was done, I was starting to suffer from migraine headaches severely. I have suffered from them since I was a young child, but as I grew older, they got a lot worse. And I suffered from migraines and cluster headaches as well, which are really severe. And it was debilitating. And I really wasn't able to hold a regular job with regular hours. It was impossible. So even though I had been doing art for a while already, I had never really thought that I would do it as a career until I found that I couldn't really have a regular job. And that's when I started selling art on a regular basis and selling using that as a career and having, I didn't just sell art because I did a lot of different things when I was younger. Like I did t-shirt designs and I did art for businesses and advertising. And,
fun.
So I still do that on occasion, but less, but I did that more when I was younger. And that's how I started. That's how my career started.
That's really neat.
And I've been doing that ever since.
So God had a plan.
Yes.
You knew what you were supposed to be doing. That's awesome. What age did you fall in love with art?
I don't really remember not loving art. I think I have always enjoyed that. But I would say I was probably, maybe, 13 or 14, where I started to feel like I was doing it more than just what kids normally do. Mm-hmm. I started to take it more seriously. I started to try to develop art skills. And so by the time I was an older teenager, I was definitely pursuing it more and then started taking classes and learning more and understanding it better. But so I don't remember not loving it. I think that maybe one of the differences that I have learned over time, the differences between people who are not artists on a more serious level, more of the average person. One of the things that I always remember doing as a kid and continue to do, and I think a lot of artists are like this, is that we sort of see things differently every day. So every day I'm out there and I'm observing everything around me, inside, outside. I look at the color of the sky. I look at the shades in the clouds. And I remember doing that as a kid too. And I don't think that's something that everybody does.
Maybe not. I tend to do that because
you're looking for that.
For photography and
right. And I do think a lot of artists do that too. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the things that I remember about being a kid. And so I know I've been interested in it for a long time. And it just became more serious as I got older.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. It's good therapy too, right?
Absolutely.
So our topic today is, why is art important?
Right. Well, so then as I grew a little bit older, I had kids of my own. I also taught art in schools for a while. And And I would do, I mostly volunteered for my kids' school as an art teacher. So I wasn't like hired as a teacher. Most of the time I was volunteer, although I did do a lot of assemblies, and I taught art in some of the gifted student programs in high schools. And so I did do that also, but I did a lot of different things. And I realized when I got in there, when I first started to do it, I had this expectation of going in and having a wonderful classroom full of children who were totally open to art and creativity. And if I found out that that's not exactly the case, so you go in and you're in front of a classroom of kids, and they have been learning from school teachers, which is great. Not criticizing them at all, but learning how to be in school, how to learn. And everything in school is very black and white. So when you're in math, there's a solution to a problem that's very definite, and everybody gets that same solution, or you're wrong. And that's, or your spelling, if you spell things one way, there's no, there's nothing else. It's very black and white. And so kids are used to doing that. And when you come in, and when I started doing it, art teachers were just gone from schools. They didn't have any. And so teachers tended to teach art themselves, and they taught it just like they taught everything else. So I would go into a classroom, and there'd be this great art project that they had done, and it was very structured, and all of the art on the wall looked exactly the same. And so when I came in and started teaching art, I would come in and I would try to unwind all of that. And I tried to give kids a sense of, you do everything in school very structured, very black and white. It's very definite. And art is the one place that you get to not do that, where you can find joy in not having the same project that your neighbor has. It doesn't have to look the same. And that, I found that kids had a very hard time with that. They were very critical of their work. They wanted it to look the same as their neighbors. And
I think people do that.
They do
with
that.
Their business too.
They do that, and everywhere in life,
there.
right?
Yeah.
They do. You're absolutely right. And so, so I spent a lot of time in art classes, probably a couple of months, trying to get kids to relax and be happy that their work looked different from each other's, and to not constantly self-criticize. And so I taught kids to do that, and I also taught the teachers to do that too. One of the things that I noticed in teachers and parents, that if they were going to talk about, if they were going to draw an example of something on the board, the very first thing that people do, adults do, is they criticize themselves before they even start. I'm terrible at art. This is going to be really bad.
Limiting beliefs.
Right. So that's the first thing that they do. And then they go ahead and they do whatever they're going to do. And kids learn from you when you do that. They learn to do the same thing. They learn to be very critical of themselves. And so I try to bring that, or turn that around, and teach parents and teach adults to stop teaching their children to be so critical before you even start, because kids in classes do the same thing that adults do, where they'll do the project and this is terrible. I can't even show you. I just want to throw it away. And I thought that was really sad. So, but after a few months or so, they all started to get better, and, they would not stop doing that, stop criticizing, and be happy when something looked different. And so the other thing that I would teach in schools, and to not just to kids, but to adults as well, is, why am I there? Why are we even learning art? What's the purpose of it? Why would we even bother? Most people don't grow up to be artists. So why should we bother learning art? And lots of adults feel that way. That's why art programs get cut. Why it's a waste of time to a lot of people. And so I'd ask kids, why do you think we're here? Why do you think I'm here doing this? Why is it important when most of you aren't going to be artists? Maybe none of you. And you know, people, they don't really know. They don't know why, and neither do adults. Why is it important? You hear it all the time. You hear the word creativity thrown around, imagination. They almost become words that have no meaning anymore. So why is it important, right? So they didn't know. So I would say, well, you might grow up to be a doctor. This person over here might grow up to be a teacher. Or maybe you're just going to be a parent. But you have, when you're in those fields, you have problems to solve, regardless of whether you're any one of those different things. And creativity and imagination and art is a way to exercise your brain to problem solve and to come up with new ideas. And that's why it's important. So if you're a doctor and you're faced with this problem that's probably maybe life or death situation, you have to have a brain that can solve that problem in a creative way.
Right.
You might need to think of something new that's maybe never been thought of before. And that's what drives our society to become better. If you're a teacher, that's clear. It's clear that you need creativity as a teacher, I think. And as a parent, you need to be able to solve the problems that you're faced with every day with your kids or with life. But maybe you're a janitor. Well, does that janitor need an art class? Well, yeah. Maybe that janitor is going to figure out a better way to clean. Maybe that janitor is going to invent something new to clean with. So I think that, or build, right?
Yeah.
I think that creativity can be everywhere in life, no matter what you do. And that's why we learn art. It's not because you need to learn to draw. It's not because you need to learn to paint. It's because you need to learn the process of creativity and imagination so that you grow up to be a more creative, intelligent person that can solve problems, that can bring something new to society.
That makes total sense. I like that.
Yeah.
So when you taught the gifted kids, or did you teach challenged kids?
Well, you know, I taught in gifted programs, and I was an advocate for bringing challenged students into those programs because the one that I taught was an art-related one, and there's also gifted and talented programs for science and math students. So the one that I taught, I advocated for kids that were left out sometimes of those kinds of programs because those kids were often the kids that had the greatest creativity.
Yeah, that's why I brought that up.
Once they were able to let go of some of the things that they've been taught, the way that they shut down creativity or shut down the world sometimes. Once they are able to lose that and come out of their shell, they can just be amazing. And so I had kids in there that were like that because I asked for them, because I knew them already from being a volunteer at the school. And it was great. Some of those kids, they were just fantastic.
We need more people like you.
Well, I took my time there, and I helped a lot of the teachers learn how to do this and learn how to have an art lesson where it didn't matter if everybody's pictures weren't the same. I used to say, look, I have one rule as an art teacher here. That's that you try and participate in the lessons that I'm bringing to you. They don't have to look like what everybody else's look like. I had one lesson that I really loved. I have this great big bottle. It's big and tall and blue, and it kind of looks like a genie's bottle, you know.
Oh, it's like that one?
A bit way bigger though.
Okay.
It had a lid and everything. And I brought that in, and I would say, all right, we're going to draw this bottle today. And I want you to look at this bottle. And if you see a blue bottle, then that's what you should paint or draw. But if you see something that looks more like a pineapple, then I want you to paint it like a pineapple instead. I want you to paint it however you see it.
Well, that's neat.
And I don't care if it's short and fat.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's taller than it really is. It's what you see. Van Gogh didn't go out into the fields and see a starry night the way everybody else did. He painted it how he saw it. And that's what makes it so beautiful. You get a little piece of what he was thinking. And I wanted kids to be able to do that and feel like they were allowed to do that too. And that was a lot of fun. And it was hard for them sometimes, but once they got into it, once they realized, okay, she really means it, they were all for it.
That is really cool.
So it was a lot of fun.
Maurice joined. I want to say hi, Maurice. Good morning. And Delaney was on earlier. I don't know if she still is. It looks like it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This is a really good, interesting live here this morning with Susan.
Thank you.
She's talking about how you look at something and paint it how your mind sees it. And it made me think of, I've never taken art or done really any paintings, but I've always thought, that would be really awesome to have my own art hanging in on my walls in my house. But the painting classes I have done were small and just kind of basic. But she would show a painting that she did, and then you would, kind of copy it or do your
replicate
own.
It, yeah.
But I could never do it just like hers. I don't like.
And you should never have felt like that's what you had to do. And that's kind of the problem, I think. I mean, there are, in art, just like in anything else, you do have to learn technique. You do have to learn how to use the materials and stuff. So there are some structure and some rules, and that's fine. But once it comes to the art itself, it should be free. You should be able to look at your art teacher's painting that she's asking you to copy and make it your own without feeling like you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing that.
And most people did. They just did kind of their own, but
that's good. Yeah.
Like took the lesson as, how to do it and then did their own.
Yeah.
But I like your idea of showing an object like the blue bottle and creating what you see out of it.
Right. And it can be anything. And I always stressed that. And then in that same lesson, I'd come back another day and I'd bring that same bottle and I'd say, remember this bottle that we drew? Well, now I want you to draw the space around the bottle.
Ooh.
We're not drawing the bottle, but we're looking at the space around it. And it can be the things that you see, or it can be the things you see in your mind. It can be anything. And I always made it a point to hold up the art if kids were okay with that. And most of them were by then. I say, look at these two pictures. They're totally different, but we were looking at the same thing. And that's what art is about.
Yes.
And every one of those kids ended up with a picture where the bottle was clearly there. It was a space, the space around the bottle creates the shape of the bottle. So the bottle's in every single picture, even though we weren't drawing a picture of the bottle. And every one of them turned out wildly different. And that was so beautiful. Cool. I loved that. And I loved having all the art turn out so completely that students.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I like that point. So like you said earlier, nobody thinks alike or draws alike or paints alike. It's like anything in life, right? Nobody is just alike. So you do it the way you do it, and people see that and they love it. So trying to copy somebody else isn't going to make you.
That never
unique.
Works. Yeah. It never works to copy. But I mean, I wouldn't say that 100% of the time it has to be 100% unique, because that's also very hard to do. But when you take and this is common in art and storytelling and book writing and anything, is that you have an idea that's maybe familiar, but it's a new take. And that's, I think, what people should be striving for. It's not that you have to have everything has to be a brand new idea, because that's quite hard. Innovation is not easy. Yeah. But to have an idea that's familiar or a story that's familiar, but you have a new way of looking at it. Just like this, everybody was looking at the same bottle and painting the same bottle, but everybody's bottle is different.
Right.
And so that's sort of my philosophy, I guess, and how I
love it. So if anybody has any questions while we're on here, please feel free, and I will check and read them, or Susan can read them. Thank you, Amber, for joining. I hope everyone's enjoying this. I surely am. Yeah. So Susan, you teach art now?
No, I have not been doing that. That was a while ago that I did all of that. Once my kids were out of school, I continued for a while with paid positions where I went to high schools and did stuff. But But you have to, as a a business person, I do everything in my business myself, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I occasionally have help when I'm doing a really large photo shoot, but almost everything I do is by myself. So you have to find a way to figure out how much can you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, after a while, I often move on to something kind of new because I like to learn new stuff. And so, in this point in my life, I have let go of some things and then move and keep myself able to do enough without feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem that people have, is taking on too much or not
Yeah.
knowing when to stop and becoming overwhelmed and not being able to do anything sometimes because of that. And that's something that you really have to work on.
Mm-hmm. It's important to focus on one thing
or enough the things that you can do rather than having too many. And it's easy to want to do too many things.
Yeah.
I certainly have that problem as well, where I want to do too many things, but
Yeah.
I have learned to stop piling it on,
yeah.
where you can't really complete anything.
So I'm just going to give your website out, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you would like to see Susan's work, her photography is at susanschroder.com.
Yes.
SUSANSCHODROD.
RODER.
We'll put it in the comments also, so
Okay. Yeah.
people can see that and go to it.
My artwork style is a very realistic. It's something I've always liked to do. I like detail work. I find that very therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
I like to work on the details of hair and jewelry, and so my artwork is generally very realistic. But it doesn't mean that I don't like to do other kinds of artwork too. I do enjoy, and that was one of the things I loved about teaching kids art, is that I got to do all kinds of art then, and that was fun. That I found very renewing. And so I still do that, even though the artwork that I tend to sell has a very realistic appearance. I also like to do other stuff, just to keep you feeling good.
Yes.
And interesting.
Fresh.
Yeah, fresh.
Good morning, Norma. Norma says, good morning, ladies. And Haley, thank you everyone for watching. I first saw your art or your photography work back probably more than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always loved it and
admired
you. So,
all right. Well, that's another area and I did that for a long time. Probably, let's see, at least I started that maybe 15 years ago, doing that, where I would take, I knew how to do photography, and I loved photography just as it by itself, landscapes and whatever. Mm-hmm. But then as I started to learn more about the digital world and digital art and Photoshop and all of that stuff, I started doing photography that was then creating art. And I do fantasy art mostly. It's, I guess, my passion. Yeah. So I used to create more. I wouldn't say I'm done doing that, but more in the past, I created photographic art where I turn, children into fairies or whatever, different things. And you can see samples of that on my website if you're interested in seeing what I do. And then, but I've been doing less of that. I used to do that a lot more often. And now I've kind of gone back to painting. Okay. And so I do digital painting and traditional painting. I do both at the same time, where I'm doing one or the other. And so I've been doing more of that now, just as the focus change. I guess I'm kind of the person that needs different things going on.
I do the same thing.
So
I always have something different. I'm like, okay, try to focus on one thing, but it is good to change it up once in a while because it keeps it fresh and exciting. Would you like to add anything else?
I don't know. What else did we talk about? I can't remember.
I think you covered a lot.
I did cover a lot.
It was a really good talk.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it. So like I said, SusanSchroder.com is her website, and you have a Facebook page?
I do. Susan Schroder Arts is my Facebook page. You can find me there. I post stuff there all the time. I'm also on Instagram. I haven't been on Instagram as long, but it's a fun place to go. You get a lot of activity over there. Yeah. So I'm there, and it's all Susan Schroder Arts. Cool. On all of my social media stuff, I think. So yeah.
Do you do workshops or anything, or?
No, I haven't. But
Okay.
a lot of people have suggested that maybe I ought to try that.
Yeah, that would be fun, especially with our Women of Vision group. I think they would have that.
Yeah, that would be
So
fun. That
we
would be
can-
interesting. Yeah. I also, if I was going to say one more thing, I have also written a book, a fantasy book that I illustrated. It's a fully illustrated book. It's a series, so I have book 1 is completed, and I'm working on book 2 right now.
Exciting.
So if you go to Amazon, you'd find that. It's also on my website. You can find it there. And so that would be my one thing
so
that I would.
Cool. What's the name of it again?
It's called Circle the Sun. It's a series of 4 books.
Okay.
And it's a series that goes through the seasons. That's why there'll be 4 of them. It starts in the summer. Summer Soul is the first book. And then it will go through each season. And a lot of the artwork that I did for that started right here in Reading. That's where the adventure starts in the book. And I don't mention Reading, but it is Reading where it starts. And so for people who live in Reading, if you looked at that book, you would see lots of places that you might even recognize.
That's so cool. I can't wait to
so
see.
Yeah, it's and then I also took photographs. A lot of my work actually has stuff in the Reading area or the surrounding areas. Like I love to go to Dunsmuir, Hedge Creek Falls. We did a big photo shoot there for the book.
Oh, cool.
And so there's lots of places in the book and in some of my artwork as well that's from this area or the surrounding areas. So that's a lot of fun for people here. And the people in them are often people from Reading that I know that I use as models.
Oh, that's fun. How cool. I can tell that you love what you do.
I do. That's very
important.
true. It is important, I think. It keeps, because not everything is easy. Absolutely. It's a lot of hard work. And I had to learn a lot of things about business that I didn't really know, running my own business. And so sometimes, it can be hard or difficult or confusing. And so if you have to love it, if you're going to get through all of that and not lose your mind.
Exactly. Yes. So ladies, you heard that. You have to love what you do. And if you are kind of confused or not sure about it, take some classes or figure out how to do it so you can love it more.
Right. It makes it a little easier to take classes.
Yeah. So thank you, Susan, for
You're
being
welcome.
here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for me. I love learning about what you're doing.
Thanks.
So if you would like to learn more about Women of Vision, we have a Facebook. Obviously, you're watching the Facebook Live. Our website is womenofvisionmovement.com. We have an Instagram, womenofvisionmovement.com. And we have our podcast every Saturday. And what else? We have a bunch of different meetings we do. You can find all the events on our Facebook page. We have Women of Vision development meetings. And we do a social every month. We go to Chico. We're going to Mount Shasta Saturday to start a group there, and we're really excited about that. And then we'll be going to Ashland. So, so excited to be expanding. All thanks to Marie's, our wonderful founder. Yay! So thanks everybody for watching. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.